This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast, and we're again glad our television audience is here. Well, here's what we've got. The Camp Pendleton cross is what we're talking about. Our TV audience can see exactly what we're talking about. For our radio audience, go to aclj.org. There's a lot of information there. But the Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers have made this really personal. They have said the following in a post late last year, but I want to reiterate it because this is how personal they're making it. The cross should be removed or covered until its legality can be determined. They do not see a legal or unbiased way of keeping the cross on federal land. They want an investigation on alleged wrongdoing in command-directed pilgrimages and sectarian prayers at the shrine. It gets even more interesting than that, folks. They actually say that they have a video that shows the long hike to install the cross and a unit commander inviting a sergeant major to give a prayer, a Christian prayer, to a mandatory formation under the cross. Marine commanders have forced their troops into a pilgrimage up to the cross site, and the Military Atheists and Free Thinkers Association says that in of itself deserves a separate investigation. I'm in the studio here in our media center with David French, who is a captain in the United States Army, a judge advocate general. Jordan's in our office in D.C. Let me go quickly to Jordan. Let's get a reaction on Washington. We've been talking to the prayer caucus on Capitol Hill. Very interested in this. It's getting a lot of movement, and then I want to ask something to David.
That's right, and it's angry atheist syndrome striking again, this time 2 crosses. They've been there since 2003, and it's suddenly a constitutional crisis after the original 7 who took up the crosses made this very difficult hike that people make to leave these symbols of sacrifice. 4 of the 7 have now been killed in action. 4 of the 7 have been killed in action, and this becomes a constitutional controversy now. We're engaging Congress, and again, politicians, elected officials do care deeply about this issue and are going to be watching very closely to see the military's decision.
David, really quickly here, we'll get more into it after the break. You've served in command positions as a captain. You've had soldiers under your command. You can't order them to participate in the military religious exercise that they don't want to. This is absurd, this allegation.
You really can't. I mean, but you know what? It is very common for there to be prayer at a military gathering because there are chaplains. Prayer is common at a military gathering. To point out that there might have been a prayer at a military gathering is just to point out that
it's like big deal. That's what happens. Yeah, I want to get more into this because this allegation about them compelled to participate is nonsense. Our goal, as we said, was to get to 100,000 signatures by the end of the week. We're at over about 50,000 between phones and internet. Actually, a little bit more than that. Folks, I need your help on this. Go to aclj.org. You can sign on to this petition to protect the cross. Or you can call us at 1-877-989-2255. These men and women have given the ultimate sacrifice for us. We can stand up for them. 877-989-2255 or aclj.org.
A decision could come any day. News reports indicate that the U.S. Marine Corps is poised to announce its decision whether to keep in place 2 memorial crosses at Camp Pendleton or succumb to pressure by an atheist group and remove them. Last fall, we heard from 45,000 Americans who urged top military officials to keep the crosses in place. Crosses that were raised by several Marines to honor their fallen comrades, several of whom themselves were later killed serving in Iraq. An atheist group is threatening a lawsuit unless the crosses are removed, calling the memorial an exploitation of military service that sends a message of exclusion. Stand with the ACLJ now. Add your name to our petition. With the decision likely to come very soon, there's still time to make a difference. Tell the military that the cross displays are not only appropriate, but constitutional as well. Call now, 1-877-989-2255 or online, aclj.org.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. 2 13-foot crosses stand 3,000 feet above sea level in the northwest corner of Camp Pendleton in California, on a Marine base near San Diego. It is now being challenged by the Military Religious Freedom Foundation as something that is violating church-state separation. It was placed there by 7 Marines, many of which, 3 of which have now been killed in action. One of the widows has spoken very directly about this. Karen Mendoza, her husband, was one of the individuals that placed the cross in place. Here's what she said, number 5, and then I want you to take some direct action here, folks.
He would want the cross to stay not for himself, not for the original 7, but for the Marines that are still grieving the loss of their brothers that were killed on the war on terror.
Those are the words of Karen Mendoza. She's the wife of fallen Marine Ray Mendoza, and she wants that cross to stay. There's 2 crosses at that site. So do we. We have issued a letter to the commanding officer of the Marine Corps base at Camp Pendleton. We are expecting a decision in the next 2 weeks. So we are now down to what's really crunch time here. We had about 45,000 of you sign on with us when we first did this back at the end of last year. Now we know a decision is imminent. We want to increase that to 100,000, and I want representation from all 50 states. You heard what Karen Mendoza said. He would like this cross to say. Let me play another soundbite from her that sets the tone from this very clearly. Number 11, take a listen.
Mrs. Mendoza, your husband spoke volumes with his sacrifice of his life. If he could speak today, what would he be saying to us and to the rest of America about the effort to take this memorial down? What would he say?
Ray was a large man, but had very few words, and he would want people to look at this cross and to say it's not about religion, it's about sacrifice, it's about remembering the fallen and going through the grieving process today all together as a country.
The ultimate symbol of sacrifice on military bases and facilities all over the world. You see it in Normandy. You've seen these crosses, folks. But this one's under attack, and we've got a chance to take a direct stand here, and I want to encourage you to do this. You need to go to aclj.org. You can sign the petition online. Very easy to do. We're at 46,357 right now. So just go to aclj.org, and that's actually 46,377. So some have signed during the break. So aclj.org, or call us right now. Add your name to this petition so we can get to this 100,000. Stand for these soldiers who stood for us. 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 to take a stand for freedom here. We encourage you to do it. David French is in the studio with me here. And David, you were mentioning during the break that you were just at an event for your service. And tell us what happened. There was, I guess, an invocation given, which is a normal part of what happens in the military.
Right. I'm in the reserves, and in this past weekend, I was in Colorado for military service, and we had a retirement ceremony. It began with an invocation. When I deployed to Iraq, before we boarded the airplane to fly to the Middle East, a chaplain read a psalm. Before we flew into our forward operating base, a chaplain led us in prayer. At every memorial for a fallen soldier downrange, there was prayer. There were remarks by the chaplain. That's why this is so bizarre to me. This is part of the fabric of military life, the inclusion of the chaplain and the acknowledgement of the faith of the vast majority of those who serve.
Yeah, Jordan, so you coined this angry atheist syndrome, and we've seen this in a number of areas. This is the most recent, but this one people are taking very personally.
Of course. I mean, this is there was the Jesus statue, of course. Remember the Ground Zero cross that the American Atheists and all these groups are associated. American Atheists, Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers, and the Freedom from Religion Foundation all work together. They were against the Ground Zero cross. Then they were against the Jesus statue in Montana that had been there since 1953. The Ground Zero cross, of course, was just something historical because it was there. No one created it. And then in this spot, they never tell the media that there are other things there, that people walk up remembrances all the time. And I think that would be good to get David's information on, because when you have these areas at a base, nothing has stopped an atheist group from putting something to remember a fallen atheist, and there are plenty of those. They talk about those statistics, and patriotic and died for their country, gave their life for our country, and they never talk about the option of putting something there,
and they're allowed to do that
because it's not about that.
Yeah, it's not about this kind of hostility aimed at the services has been something, David, we've seen a lot actually over the last few years as these groups have kind of come up. I mean, a lot of this is because these groups are complaining. Interestingly, Jordan pointed this out yesterday. We don't have a situation where anybody on that base has complained about this.
Right. I mean, and Jordan brings up a great point that this is a spot where there have been a lot of mementos left. I mean, even empty whiskey bottles.
Yeah.
The favorite liquor of a fallen soldier. I mean, this is not a situation where the Marines are censoring and only allowing a Christian expression and no other expression. And the thing that's poignant about this, for me, is that I've now seen many memorials to fallen soldiers, and that tradition of leaving something that symbolizes that soldier is alive and well all over this country, and it means an awful lot to those in service. And essentially what the atheists are trying to do is to say, well, you can leave mementos, but not the Christian mementos.
Exactly. That's right. It's like selective exclusion of Christian mementos. But listen to what Debbie Allen, Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers, had to say about the Pendleton Cross, Camp Pendleton Cross, what she calls this. I mean, she calls this an act of civil disobedience. Take a listen, number 14.
It's an act of civil disobedience. I understand that these people lost people in war, and the symbol that is closest to their heart, they should erect on private land.
But see, it's not the symbol that's closest to their heart that they want erected on private land. It is the cross or a Star of David that they don't want there. That's what this is all about. Folks, take direct action here. We need to hear from all 50 states. We need to hear from all of you. Go to aclj.org. You can sign the petition there. We're going to get to 100,000. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 to have your voice heard and to participate. Again, aclj.org or 877-989-2255. Jordan, let's go to the phones. A lot of calls coming in.
That's right. Vincent calling in from Mississippi on line 2. Vincent, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Vincent.
Hey, I just wanted to say real quick, I'm active duty in the Air Force.
Yes, sir. We appreciate your service.
And, that kind of movement, I'm a believer, and I exercise my faith. And, the blood that has been shed, beforehand, the men, 4 of the 7 who have already lost their lives. I mean, to take something down would be to seriously tarnish, their sacrifice. If it had, like you guys said, if it had been anything else, no one would even care, But because it is a cross, as through time pass and in the future, it's going to continue to be attacked. And we have to take a stand against that, especially if the soldiers on base aren't saying anything. I mean,
they're not. Vincent, first of all, I want to thank you for your service. I also want to thank you for pointing out that 4 of the 7 soldiers that took those crosses and put them up on that hill, 3,000 feet high, went through the rugged terrain, have lost their lives in service to our country. And then you hit the key point, which is the one that Jordan was making yesterday. Not a single complaint from a soldier or a family member on that base. Not one. I call this the offended atheist. Jordan calls it the angry atheist syndrome. And Jordan, that's what's so ironic about all of this.
Yeah, again, a number of things that don't get told in all of the stories. Here, no one that's an actual Marine at Camp Pendleton has complained, at least not so publicly. One of the emails they released, the Military Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers, which, by the way, trying to define that, what does that mean even? But this association doesn't have any Marine on base that is standing with them. That their spokesperson, the one you see in the news, he's not a Camp Pendleton Marine. They released emails. It was someone from the Navy complaining about it, but it wasn't even their name. I mean, it was all anonymously done. So not one has stood up and said, I want this cross down, and yet you've got a whole list of widows having to stand up for the cross. That's the situation atheists have put in, widows of those who have served our country and were killed in action. 4 of the original 7 who took up the crosses in 2003, killed in action, and their widows are having to defend it on nationally in the media.
That's exactly
because
right.
of these atheist groups.
And David, let me point this out. This is in our news packet today. Again, it's the Military Atheists Association of Atheists and Free Thinkers. They're the ones bringing this complaint. Said, quote, "This would not have happened had a flag, plaque, or non-sectarian statute been placed. This would not have happened had those Marines chosen to place their memorial on private land rather than federal land. The MAF hopes that those Marines who place this cross can prevent this bad." That's what they said. Can prevent this bad will excuse me. How do they say that? They're saying that the cross itself is a bad symbol and that they need to step aside and move it down. That's what they're saying in their convoluted sentence here. Let me point out the fact here, David, and it's pretty shocking when you read this thing. They call it bad will. That's what they're talking about. Let me point out, though, you said earlier that if it had been something other than a religious symbol, it wouldn't have been a problem. But the religious symbol is what means something to these soldiers and to their families.
This is a memorial. It's an expression from the heart. And so what these people are saying is to protect the feelings of who knows who. I mean, because no one's actually complained at Camp Pendleton.
Well, they're calling it actually bad will. This is bad will by putting this cross up. It's like you've an act of bad will.
I mean, first of all, that's utterly ludicrous. This is an act of good faith, honoring those who've fallen with a symbol that obviously has meant an awful lot to the Marines who are actually serving. So this isn't about protecting anyone. This isn't about honoring anyone. This is about tearing down a monument. This is about actually offending and hurting and harming Marines who are serving at Camp Pendleton to advance an anti-Christian agenda. That's what this is.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. By the way, there's crosses in Arlington Cemetery. These groups would like those gone, too. Here's the phone number for you to take a stand. It's 1-877-989-2255. We're going to get to 100,000 with your help. That's 877-989-2255. You can also sign on to this petition at aclj.org. But if you want to fight back and stand up for our military, stand up for their families, 4 of the 7 have lost their lives defending freedom. We could do the least by making a call and adding our name in support of that cross. 877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255 or aclj.org.
A decision could come any day. News reports indicate that the U.S. Marine Corps is poised to announce its decision whether to keep in place 2 memorial crosses at Camp Pendleton or succumb to pressure by an atheist group and remove them. Last fall, we heard from 45,000 Americans who urged top military officials to keep the crosses in place. Crosses that were raised by several Marines to honor their fallen comrades, several of whom themselves were later killed serving in Iraq. An atheist group is threatening a lawsuit unless the crosses are removed, calling the memorial an exploitation of military service that sends a message of exclusion. Stand with the ACLJ now. Add your name to our petition. With the decision likely to come very soon, there's still time to make a difference. Tell the military that the cross displays are not only appropriate, but constitutional as well. Call now, 1-877-989-2255 or online, aclj.org.
All right, so the wife of a fallen Marine has really made a statement that is affecting a lot of people, and that's because we're expecting a decision in the next 2 weeks from the commanding officer of the Marine Corps base at Camp Pendleton about these crosses. For our television audience, you're seeing it right now. Let me play for you what Karen Mendoza, the wife of one of the fallen Marines who actually put the crosses in place, had to say. Number 4.
It's not a religious spot at all. It's a place for the Marines to grieve and to grow, to let go of their burdens of what they have in their soul so they can go back down that hill and back into battle and put their own lives on the line.
And I will tell you this, the cross situation has certainly become significant because we are within 2 weeks, it looks like, of getting a decision here. And if that's the case, we want to keep up the pressure. So again, if you haven't signed on to this petition, we encourage you to do so at aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. And let me say a huge thank you to our ACLJ members. We're in a matching challenge. We met our goal last night. Thank you very much. Your support enables us to continue to do this work, and we met our goal, so we got that matching challenge completed. Very good. Let's go right back to the phones. Jordan, who do we have next?
Yeah, we've got a lot of great calls coming in. Let's go to Joe calling in from California on line 3. Joe, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Joe.
Jay, thank you so much for what you do. Hey, I just had a thought. Is there not atheists in the military who joined up voluntarily? I would ask them, what are they fighting for? Aren't they fighting for the freedom of Christians as well as their own freedom to protest? What's the matter with these people?
Well, no, it's not. Here's the thing. There are certainly atheists serving in the military, and most of them are not complaining about this. Yeah, I understand this is an outside, David, this is an outside group that is agitating.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, there's no victim here that they're pointing to.
Right.
These crosses don't hurt anyone. And even if there was 1 out of 100,000 people who were offended by this, we don't have a right not to be offended. I mean, that's one of the things that's such a mystery to me is why is it that a certain segment of the population believes they have a foundational, fundamental right not to be offended so strong so strong that they can require people to tear down memorials to fallen soldiers just to preserve their feelings. That's astonishing to me.
All right, let's do this. Let's go right. Continue going to the phones, Jordan. Let's get also a sense in Washington. I know we've been you and our Nathaniel Bennett, Van Bennett, have been working with members of Congress on these issues. We've got the situation. We had the Jesus statue in Montana. By the way, heard from hundreds of thousands of you on that one, and guess what? Forestry Service, that stays up. So a victory there. They may go to court over it. We'll be prepared to defend it. So you spoke out. We got a victory. What's the latest in Washington on this one?
Listen, everybody's watching very carefully and closely to see how the military comes down and the commanding officer, because what we expect is a lawsuit either way. At least that's what atheists are threatening. They threatened to do that in Montana. They filed it. They threatened to do it here if the commanding officer decides to let the crosses stay. They said, we'll file in federal court. They've even threatened to do that if the decision doesn't come out soon. So you've got the legal front, and I think that's what members of Congress are watching for. It's kind of one of those moments where you have to make sure you understand that this is real. This is really happening in America. There really is a decision that will be coming down from a commanding officer about these wooden crosses in Mount Horno, right there at Camp Pendleton, that have been there since 2003, that burned down in 2007, put back up, because anyone who wants to can make that hike and put things there. And I don't see anywhere, Dad, in the media where that's been disputed. So as we say, it's not about atheists wanting recognition. It's about taking down religious symbols, and it's always targeted at anything related to the Christian faith.
Well, they're admitting that. I've got their quotes right now. It says, this would not have happened had a flag, plaque, or non-sectarian statue been placed. But here's what Karen Mendoza, the wife of fallen Marine Ray Mendoza, had to say about this number 13. This is what she wants to have there. This is what Ray put up there before he was killed in action, number 13.
He would want the cross to stay not for himself, not for the original 7, but for the Marines that are still grieving the loss of their brothers that were killed on the war on terror.
Let's get right back to the calls. Bruce calling in from Arizona on line 3. Bruce, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
You know, my father spent his whole life in the service for our freedom, and in 1968, my brother was shipped out of Camp Pendleton to Vietnam, and these guys that especially this officer in charge of the base, being a Marine, if he wants to take this down, he's just an elected official. And these guys need to be removed.
Well, listen, first of all, I don't want to disparage the colonel that's in charge of this project right now. He is reviewing all of the legal issues, including the legal memorandums that we've sent. He's got his judge advocate generals that are reviewing this. I don't want to disparage him. They haven't said it's coming down. Remember, we had the situation with the Forestry Service, got that resolved successfully. It stayed up. David, walk us through the process. You're a judge advocate general. You're a lawyer in the military. What happens here?
Right. You've got a base commander who's getting legal advice right now, who's consulting with the combatant commanders, the commanders of the units that are on the base, and he's getting a lot of advice right now about what to do. And he's taking a lot of things into consideration, including not just the legality, but also morale issues and questions like that. So he's got a decision under the white-hot glare of publicity. And, as we explained in our letter we wrote late last year, there is no legal problem with keeping these crosses up. There is no legal problem with keeping this expression up.
All right, folks, I got to encourage you right now as we take more calls. You go to your phones right now or aclj.org. You sign on right now to stand up for this cross at Camp Pendleton. We're getting a decision in 2 weeks. We're at about a little bit more than 50% of our goal to get to 100,000 signatures. You go to your phones at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. Speak up for those that can no longer speak. We've got the widows of these soldiers defending this cross in the media. We need to be doing that advocacy for them, not just in the media, but in the courtrooms as necessary, and certainly within the military apparatus itself. So again, aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Back to the phones we go.
Mike's calling in from Maryland on line 5. Mike, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Mike.
How are you guys? Thank you, Jay, for all the great work.
Thanks.
I'm due to retire pretty shortly, and I just wanted to call and thank you guys. I literally just caught the program and had, of course, normal media. I didn't hear anything about this and just wanted to comment and say that, for the spouses and the widows alone, shame on this other group. The fact, too, that you have facts that say that they're not even part of the military or part of the base. They're just, again, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. They're trying to make a little noise, and we need to squelch it. We totally need to squelch it. I called, I signed the petition, and I just want to put it out there that I'm super proud of you guys for getting it out. And hopefully my other brothers and sisters in the military will hear. And there was a comment.
Hey, Mike, you're on active duty now?
Yes.
What branch?
Navy, and I'm a corpsman. Well, I'm actually the Marines medics.
Okay, great. Well, you know exactly then what this is. You had one more comment. Go ahead.
Yep. But no, just that they continue to support these things. Again, the commanding officer, yes, they have a lot of power and say, but it's that important. And if it was a different symbol, we as Christians don't find offense by some of the other religion symbols, so why is it that it's just...
Because they have zero tolerance. Let me tell you what they've said. They're not just concerned about, by the way, the cross at Camp Pendleton. They say that's just one of many. They don't like the Mount Soledad cross. That's currently before the Supreme Court of the United States. The Mojave Desert cross, we fought for that one. The Montana Jesus statue, we just got that decision overturned, and that one stays up. They don't like the Argonne cross at Arlington, which is a 1921 monument erected in memory of our men in France. And they say because it's too exclusive, although it doesn't say it's a symbol of sacrifice. I don't know what's so hard for these people to understand. But, David, again, this is not really – I mean, there may be some military members that are upset about this somewhere, but they're not the ones speaking out. They're not the ones complaining. It's this association that is.
Well, that's exactly right. This is an ideological attack designed to whitewash history. Because you know what? They wish America weren't so Christian or America weren't so full of faith that that's how people choose to express themselves.
Exactly.
Because that's what they want to create. And to help create that, they want to whitewash our history. They want to try to teach American servicemen and women that faith does not have a place in their service, and that's just wrong, fundamentally wrong.
Fundamentally wrong is correct. All right, folks, so here's what I want everyone to do that's listening to this broadcast right now. We've got to stand up for these women that are standing up for their husbands. And the same thing for men that have spouses that have been lost in the military. This cross, this memorial needs to stay in place at Camp Pendleton, but it's going to be up to us to speak out. You go to aclj.org and you sign on to that petition right there. aclj.org. Takes you seconds to do it. Or you call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. Let's take a stand now. Again, 877-989-2255 or aclj.org.
A decision could come any day. News reports indicate that the U.S. Marine Corps is poised to announce its decision whether to keep in place 2 memorial crosses at Camp Pendleton or succumb to pressure by an atheist group and remove them. Last fall, we heard from 45,000 Americans who urged top military officials to keep the crosses in place. Crosses that were raised by several Marines to honor their fallen comrades, several of whom themselves were later killed serving in Iraq. An atheist group is threatening a lawsuit unless the crosses are removed, calling the memorial an exploitation of military service that sends a message of exclusion. Stand with the ACLJ now. Add your name to our petition. With the decision likely to come very soon, there's still time to make a difference. Tell the military that the cross displays are not only appropriate, but constitutional as well. Call now. 1-877-989-2255 or online, aclj.org.